camps, and apparently there's a big scene for this. Basically, if you're a Madness fan of that sort of level, you try and get every single recording of any Madness CD song, whatever, ever released. But there are some, like their Japanese live show from the 1982 or whatever, that might be ultra rare because there's only bootleg copies or whatever, and he spent a fortune. He basically ruined himself financially trying to collect all of these CDs. I don't know whether he ever achieved his goal of getting every single one.
Nice.
But,
well, if he needs a copy of Divine Madness on cassette that I bought from Boots in about 1991, then he can have it.
We discussed last episode about my dad's comic.
$8.99, I believe it was.
You should check how rare that is on the grand scheme of things.
Tell you what I've got that's rarer. Kenny Dalglish Soccer Manager on the Spectrum.
Wow.
I've got that in the garage still.
Did you ever play World Manager on the PC?
No.
World Football Manager or something like that. I lent it to a friend of mine to try and show him why it was better than Football Manager. And he just, laughed in my face.
So this week's show, I don't know who suggested this one, and I need to have a word with him because we can't.
It's a hard one to talk about.
We can't reject the random topic selector. We have to go with what it says. But this episode is about banking / the economy. I think this might have been one of our little associates, Robbie Roo, who suggested this to us. So we'll be having a word with him. I think he's deliberately trying to throw a spanner in the works so we don't compete with him on New and Noteworthy on iTunes because his new show, Mature Game and Night Shift, has just launched.
So far, I don't think he's got much to worry about.
No, so I think he's trying to scupper us a little bit. But yeah, banking and the economy. Got anything interesting to say about that? Or should we get back to talking about Iron Maiden and beer?
Did you find... I mean, I know the recession hit a lot of people in a lot of ways, but kind of soured past me a little
Tell
bit.
you what I did when the recession came. I went and got loads of free money off the government and just went and became a student and realised that I could maintain a standard of living by being a student that I had before when I had a real job. In banking, I'd like to point out.
When did I meet you again?
When we started uni.
What did I do before that?
Yeah, you worked in the banking sector as well, didn't you?
Insurance, yeah.
So we're
really the same, but...
So we both sort of turned our backs on the financial world that we were in before and realised we could get free money elsewhere. I think that's one thing that you have to say about banking in general. It's generally populated by geniuses like us who know how to play the system.
I don't want to... I mean, people who know me at all, which most of the people listening probably will now, is I'm not the cleverest person. I didn't plan that. I didn't think, hey, economy going down, I'm going to go get free money being a student.
Whereas I'm a cynical arsehole, I did plan that. I sat down there with a spreadsheet. Right, this is what happens if I get a job where I'd be working 5 to 6 days a week of hard work as a financial advisor. This is what happens if I go and become a student and have to turn up to uni 2 days a week for 26 weeks of the year. There's not a massive difference between those two numbers. I think I'll take that couple of £100 a month hit and go and become a student.
And I mean, I remember the similar... It wasn't really like that. I kind of got a job I didn't like, just stopped working for 6 months and then they just called me in the office one day and said, we'll pay you for another 2 months, but you're going home now, you ain't coming back. And I went, oh, brilliant, I'm going to uni in 2 months, as it goes. That'll be quite a handy little bit of money. So... I went off to uni and turned out I wasn't any worse off or any better off. I just got on with it. Awesome. But, so this whole banking recession, I don't have the hate that a lot of people have because I didn't get affected by it. That sounds
I should hate it more than anyone because, I mean, the job I was in immediately before I went to uni was I was stuck in a call centre selling insurance because the job I had before I lost because of the fact that the recession hit. I was selling mortgages at the time and obviously the housing market went kaput. So I was left not being able to sell mortgages because no one was buying houses. So I should hate the fact that the recession happened, but I'm kind of indifferent to it. If it hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have been a world-class podcaster by now.
You wouldn't have met me, is what you were going to say.
Oh, shit. Jesus Christ. I hate the recession. I've changed my view on it entirely.
See, I don't really... I mean, I get it in that people were so lax with who they were lending money to because they were on incentives. I mean, it was the same with me with insurance. I remember being in an office and basically being told, you need to sell insurance to people. And for the first day, I was kind of like, I know that we're £150 more expensive, but we do this and we do that. You don't want it? No, you've got it for £200 less actually as well? Okay, no worries, off you go. I can't argue with that. And they'd say, hang on a minute, you just said no worries to them. I know it's £150 less. just go for it. You need to be telling them what they're missing out on if they don't get your insurance. Oh, yeah, but their insurance does the same thing. Oh, yeah, but they don't know that. They don't know what's in their insurance. They don't know that everyone gets this sort of cover because it's the law. And that's the. And I'd say to you, just tell them that's what it does. You're not lying to them. You're not. And it'd be really weird stuff like that.
It's a horrifically dodgy business. I mean, the company I was at, and I won't say who they are, and I've not disclosed my full name, so hopefully they can't track me down. But it was even worse than that. They were such a dodgy company. It was car insurance, same as you, and their unique selling point was that they would put stupidly low quotes on all the search engines online. And my job, when these quotes came in at like £150, hundreds of pounds cheaper than the next best one, my job was to phone those people up and say, "Oh, there's been a system error. It's actually 650, not 150. Can I take your card details, please? And we'll just add the rest on for you." And
Sickening.
that was what I was being paid to do, basically try and drag an extra £500 out of people. And that was what I was targeted on. It was about trying to rinse an extra £500 out of people, and you get their business model was based on the fact that you get a certain amount of people who aren't capable of saying no, and they'll just hand over their card details, even though it means spending a couple of £100 more than the cheapest option on those websites is. And that company still exists.
Scary, isn't it? It just doesn't make any sense that that can be allowed. Which I mean, I was like, oh, it must be against the law, but how are they getting away with it?
They're getting away with it because they can't prove it. It's always a system error. It's always a system error. When those calls there's no official paperwork that says that was what we're supposed to do. And it wasn't everyone in there who did it. It was just, they took a group of 4 of us off into a different room, and the 4 of us, that was our job. And there was no official paperwork to say that was our job, but that was what we were there to do. Everyone else is there to stop people cancelling their renewals and doing incoming phone calls and stuff, but our job was rinsing extra money out of people we'd ripped off on the internet.
It used to drive me mad with these.
I'd like to point out I left that job because I'm morally opposed to it and had an argument with the manager there and didn't actually do that, but that's what they wanted me to do.
I find that it was a really weird scenario, because you've had to be really good, really corrupt, or...
They're the same thing, though.
Or you just... No, hear me out. Or you'd be just bad at the job. And I remember I'd always be in like the top few %, because I was good at it, but I wasn't being... bad, like I wasn't, and I couldn't ever figure out for ages why I wasn't getting that last bit. There was always like 5 people in the office who were better than me, and it turned out they'd always be doing really like someone rings up to cancel, they'd just hang up the phone.
Yeah, it's all them
kinds
of tricks. Yeah,
they'd say to me, "Well, if you do that, you get sacked." So I'd have to cancel people's policies. I remember losing £300 commission because someone cancelled 5 minutes after my shift had ended. I got a call, and I thought, I can't ignore it. Took it, lost my money, but. I used to be really good at upselling stuff. Just, do you want breakdown cover, blah, 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 Whereas there'd be people who would just put it on, and it was really bizarre. And then I must admit, there are times when I've said to someone, "What's your best quote? £400? Oh, well, I've found it for £300 with breakdown cover, with this," because that was how they suggested we do it. They'd say, we'll offer it like that as a one big package type thing, not telling the person actually it would be like 80, 90 quid cheaper if I hadn't added that on like I'd been told to, sort of thing. So there are a lot of weird, dodgy things going on. So I think the people involved in it are kind of, I mean, no one wakes up and thinks, "I want to work in insurance for a living." That's kind of...
No, you end up there.
Yeah.
We all end up there.
Exactly. I mean,
it's a rite of passage. You have to do it at some point.
My wife's always said she doesn't want to end up in a job. And I'm not saying that people who do that and are happy doing that are wrong. It's just, it's kind of you don't... If you go to every school in the country and say, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" No one's saying, "I want to work in a call centre doing that." And that's how it felt. It was kind of like, I did that because I did nursing. You know this. I'm sorry, I'm kind of boring you, but the listener doesn't. But I did nursing for 18 months, and then couldn't afford to do it, and I had to leave, and I ended up in insurance, and that's basically what happened. And I know Kev said he ended up in insurance, and it's so target driven, and you are basically told you have to meet these targets you're out. And I remember being like one of 4 people who was left out of my team that started. I was there 18 months, and most of them had left because they just couldn't handle the fact that they're either really bad at it because they just didn't get out or play the game, or they just couldn't do it. And we all were looking for jobs from day one, but we just,
Right, we've got some listener questions. Some of them, I think, are taking it a little more seriously than others. Lee McElwain on Twitter. I worked for Abbey for 6 years. Why do I feel dirty no matter how hard I scrub? Now, Lee, I sympathise with you there because I've actually had a further conversation with you on Twitter about this week. And it turns out we worked at Abbey at the same time. And it was when they changed from Abbey National to Abbey in about 2004. We both left at about the same time. And the one thing I remember from when Abbey National turned into Abbey is, I mean, it was a massive rebrand. They paid this marketing company a huge amount of money to, right, we're Abbey National, what do we do? How do we make ourselves cool? Their solution was to drop National, drop the old logo, and instead replace it with what looked like a Comic Sans word art font on different coloured backgrounds. I have never seen so much pink paper as I saw in this office the day this all changed over. And they just wheeled in trolley after trolley of pink paper. Because although they had different coloured papers across the country, our branch just got pink on day one. The one down the road got lime green. I was so jealous of the lime green ones. But I worked at Abbey for 6 months, I think. Back in 2004, and I think we're 9 years away from when I did that now. I think it's safe to say my entire time there, when I was supposed to be a mortgage advisor, what I was actually doing was sitting in my office playing Football Manager, doing nothing at all. I sold one mortgage in 6 months and no one noticed because they were so busy with the rebrand that I just got away with sitting there doing nothing. It was such a cushy job. The only bad thing about it was I had to drive down to Hatfield every day, 6 months, from Peterborough.
So clever. I had a job for 2 years where all I did was sleep, eat, meet women, play games.
Is this your life as a podcaster? Is that what you're talking about?
Make money. No, I spent 2 years working for the local council in my hometown. Just, yeah. When my boss had to go at me for not doing any work, because he noticed, after you can't do 18 months on a job without someone noticing you.
I managed 6 months and no one noticed. Well, I got headhunted to leave that place after 6 months.
But when my boss knocked on my door, rang me, and I went, I'm upstairs, I'll be down in a minute. And he went, you know, I can hear your phone ringing, I'm outside your front door. And I know that that's your bedroom, I can hear the phone. And all this, he was just very angry. So from that day on, I used to just spend an hour a day sat in the room about the time I knew he'd turn up, just putting the kettle on over and over again. And then if he came in, like, I've just sat down for a cup of tea, good timing. Or I'd be midway through a cup of tea, you know, or the kettle would have boiled 10 minutes ago. Basically, I used to drink about 15 cups of tea a morning and boil that kettle about 800 times every time I heard the door go. And that's what I did, yeah, for 2 years. That's a good job.
Boiling a kettle? Good work.
Basically boiling a kettle, arguing with chavs, and just getting laid and drunk and having fun.
Nice.
Good
Is that
stuff.
how you lost your hair?
Yeah, pretty much. But we're supposed to be talking about why Lee spent 6 years with someone called Abby and feels dirty.
Yeah, what was wrong with her?
Yeah, I don't know, mate. Maybe you should have better choice of women. But what did he do the same as you? Sell mortgages?
I don't know what he did. I wasn't that interested in his life to ask. I just know he was there for 6 years and he left about the same time I did. I'm not still there. I don't work for Abbey National anymore, who don't even exist. That's why I'm safe to talk about them. They don't exist anymore. It's all Santander now.
I think he probably feels dirty because he feels like he did something wrong, when I would say, you didn't do anything wrong, Lee. They did something wrong.
You were cashing checks. The best thing about working at Abbey National, and if he did a similar job to me, he'll remember this. If he didn't, guess what I got to do? I spent a month in a nice, it was like a country club, golf club resort thing, being trained up, and it was a nice hotel, nice food. I just spent a month down there flirting with all the girls who were learning to do the same job that I was doing, that I'd already done in a previous company. Yeah. So I just spent every night just getting drunk and having fun in the bar, and just, yeah, it was a great laugh. And it was all paid for. We'd get an open bar every night, because it was just Abbey National employees who were in there. So every night, open bar, we'd have to drag ourselves out of bed for 9 o'clock the next day to do some more training, which is easier than any other training I've ever done. I mean, 4 weeks to teach how to sell a mortgage to someone, you don't need that. You don't need a day to learn how to sell a mortgage.
Don't most people really, really want a mortgage?
Yeah, I don't get that. I've never had one. I've never owned a house. I've rented the whole time, and I'm not particularly eager to go and buy, just purely because at the moment I pay so much a month, and if I bought this house, my mortgage would be twice what I pay in rent. It doesn't make sense, but people are desperate to do it.
Well, I really want to buy a house eventually, but when I go to that meeting, I'm really wanting that mortgage. I don't really see what selling they've got to do. They've either got to find one that works, or say, sorry mate, you can't have one.
And
same with loans as well, really. Selling loans shouldn't be hard.
And also, if you're sat in an Abbey National or in a branch of any bank, if you've got someone sat there in front of you, they haven't got the imagination to shop around. They're there because they bank with you and they're getting that mortgage from you anyway. It was hard work for me to only sell one in the 6 months I was there. I was turning people away, trying to do the minimum amount of work possible to get me through that time. But yeah... It's mortgages are a nonsense anyway, but a whole month of just getting drunk, and they filmed me doing a mock mortgage interview while I had a massive hangover. That didn't go down very well.